Hello guys, it is Daniel here again, and today it's another episode of Formula 1 2019 gameplay and another episode of my career series, which in the first place, the first episode you absolutely loved. I got 1,100 likes and only 4 dislikes to the first episodes and hundreds of supportive comments both from my Hungarian viewers and both from my English viewers. I know that my English is not even comparable with Arava or Talmet Marduk, who are native speakers, but I try to compromise my skill-less speaking and commentary with my driving, which is hopefully great as I'm an esports player, and Max Verstappen shows me that I speak quite a lot, so I guess we should jump onto the track of Sahir and Bahrain. You will notice a bit of frame drops in the video. It's because of the recording. I recorded this episode with a different program and I didn't have any lags in game, but I have it afterwards. I try to optimize it, but this episode will be a little bit laggy, but not too much for you to not enjoy. But for the next episode I changed, so it will be decent again. I hope it's still enjoyable. As you can see, I'm doing the practice programs. I do the track acclimatization, the tire saving, the fuel saving, and I usually, as I do, I cut these laps together because I don't want to waste any time with practice sessions. I don't even want to waste any time with a long qualifying session. I want you to see the racing, which is epic again. I hope you like, and I hope you will anticipate this video, because there will be some intense battles and I will play a bit with the 110% AI. As you can see, I drive Alfa Romeo Racing. I chose this team because it's very challenging no matter where I will race in esports. It's a lower team. Last year I did a career with Mercedes on my Hungarian channel, and whatever I tried to do, I couldn't optimize performance, and I always bet the AI and I became champion in the first season. But I don't want to do that. I want to fight for seasons and want to experience the amazing career opportunity that Codemasters presents us. And as you can see, I completed 5 of the 6 practice programs, and slow-mo is coming soon and you will see where I messed up my qualifying simulation. I only had 1 tire left and I killed that tire as well for the practice sessions because I just lost the backend. As I showed in the last episode, I go for the upgrades for chassis and aerodynamics, but of course they don't arrive in 1 week and there is a long way ahead of us, but we will try to fight the top teams with aero soon, like 1 or 2 seasons. We will be needed to get as many resource points as possible and upgrade aerodynamics with it. As you can see, we are in the quali, it's night and the race will be in nighttime as well, so the practice sessions in the midday, they don't seem to count that much because we can't learn so much as the track is so much hotter. But now we brought the tires to an optimum temperature and we will start the quali lap. The first corner is the hardest braking zone of the full lap, and I try to brake at the 100-meter board and I hit the apex perfectly. I try to straighten up the wheel as soon as possible and step on the throttle as soon as possible too, and use the whole track to carry maximum momentum. And first the sector, it doesn't look so bad, but now I lock up the front right tires and I missed the apex a bit, but I carried a great momentum, but I definitely lost a tenth or 2 there. Here the fast right and left-hander is not the perfect, as I lost a bit of stability, and again I look up. Probably those front right tires are not in temperature or they are overheated already. I'm not sure in that because I didn't have any time to check. This was the trickiest braking zone of the calendar, and I think it's definitely not only the trickiest but the hardest, as you turn and the wheels turned right in the front, and it's very easy to lock. It's also very easy to lock here, but I managed to didn't, but I still missed the apex in the fast left-hander. But here is the flat-out section which I managed to do correctly. Here is the penultimate corner which I again missed the apex a little bit, so it's definitely not a perfect lap, but all of the time that I miss the apex I still carry a great momentum and I still don't lose stability on the exit, and I try to use the whole track, so it's not that bad. But here I guess in the last corner I lost a bit of grip because my tires tends to overheat at the latest part of the lap. I'm P14, a couple of hundreds behind Lando Norris and only 8,000 of a second ahead of Sainz, and 2 positions and 1/10 ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. This was the qualifying session, this was my fastest lap. I didn't want to bore you with any more, because we arrived at race day. It's 23.2 degrees outside, because it's evening, it's not that hot, and it's a 5.4 kilometer track, which is 3.6 miles if I remember correctly, but I may read it wrong. This track contains 15 corners, which are extremely fast and good for overtaking, because there is a few really strong braking zones and long straights where we can open DRS to reduce drag and of course use our slipstream and our power advantage with the strongest power unit on the grid using Ferrari. You can see the Drivers' Championship. Lewis Hamilton leads ahead Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc. This is the previous top 3 result from Australia, as this is the second Grand Prix where we attend. Australia was the first one, so it's of course that the championship standing is equivalent with the results in Australia. We will try to start the race with the medium compound of tires and put the hard and do a one-stop strategy, but there will be a few guys ahead that doesn't do the same, so look out for them. But the lights are out and away we go, and we have a quite average start. We try to defend the inside line against Sainz. We go after Lando Norris, who tries to break our way through, and I'm on the inside, try to attack Nico Hülkenberg, but he has a very good way there. I try around the outside, but Lando breaks a little bit, so I needed to break too to not damage my front wing, but I'm already in P13, so I gained 1 position at the start. Now around the outside I do against Lando what he did in the real Grand Prix, if you remember, and I'm up to P12. It's an amazing move, and I try to look on the inside of Grosjean, but this is too fast of a section to do that, so I prepare for the exit, and I have a very good exit, but I lose the backhand, but an insane direction it's reached. I dive down the inside of Grosjean, I overtake him, but to avoid any collision with simulation damage on Nico Hülkenberg, I needed to track the track a little, and I got a warning, but you can get 2 warnings without a penalty, and the 3rd warning you will eventually get a corner cutting penalty. As you remember, I showed last episode that I play on strict, I play on 110%, and which is more important, or most important, simulation damage, so I need to do everything to avoid any action, or I will lose a lot of pace during the race. And we entered 2nd lap. I don't quite catch Hülkenberg, but I definitely catch Magnussen, who has some kind of mechanical issues because he's out of the race, and we are up to P10, so actually we get a point now if we finish like that, but of course there is like 27 laps remaining of the race, and Nico Hülkenberg tries to go around the outside of Sergio Perez, and the next corner is a left-hander, and he had very good grip, and he actually overtook the Mexican driver. It was a nice move by Hülkenberg, and it's also good for me because they hold each other up a little bit, and I try to get into the slipstream and the DRS to gain that crucial momentum to catch up to them in the straights with opening the DRS. There is Grosjean still behind me, not so close, so I'm quite safe to him. And Vettel leads the race, Lewis Hamilton is in 2nd position, and Charles Leclerc with the very fast going Ferrari tries to catch the British 5-time world champion. Actually, I'm really proud and happy about Codemasters, because it seems like in our 2 career episodes the strengths of the team are pretty realistic. So in Bahrain the Ferrari is really good, but in Australia the Mercedes was really good, so it's pretty realistic, and I really like that. And as you can see from the picture, and as you can hear from my commentary, Charles Leclerc indeed overtook Lewis Hamilton using DRS. I used double slipstream and I opened DRS2 in the 4th lap, and I definitely misjudged my braking with the amount of speed I had, because I missed the apex of the 1st corner, but it doesn't count as Nico Hülkenberg and Sergio Perez keeps battling against each other. There is the back part of the field. I'm very surprised that the Williams can even fight with Toro Rossos and McLaren, and they are not a lap down in lap 4 yet. But yeah, they definitely have a way to improve their car, but I'm supportive of them because I like Williams, there is no problem with them, but they definitely have a hard time. Maybe in Virtual World Codemasters try to be nice to them and they can still battle with Toro Rossos and McLaren, as you can see on the map in the bottom left corner as well. I still try to chase Perez, who pay attention, they have Perez and Hülkenberg ahead, and again, all the cars ahead, they have the softer compound of tires compared to me, so they will definitely go for 2 stops, because I don't think it's possible to do a 1 stop with the softest and the hardest compound of tire even. So in the first few laps they had a grip advantage, but coming to lap 4, and they already used their tires in the quali lap, they don't have a grip advantage anymore, so I go and open DRS and I overtook Sergio Perez pretty easily. It was not a big battle, as this is the time when my harder compound of tires, the medium tires, turn into life. They heated up properly. It's not hard to heat them up in the Bahrain desert, but yes, as you can see, I already have 2 points if we look like that, because I overtook Perez, and I'm up to overtaking Roman Grosjean ahead. Sorry, not Roman Grosjean, because he's behind me. I'm looking forward to overtake Nico Hülkenberg as well, who fought with Perez. And as we can see on the picture, it's Charles Leclerc who is attacked by Lewis Hamilton, and he needs to go to defend the inside line. He went and covered the middle of the track. The other lines are pretty dirty, so you can't overtake anywhere in Bahrain, but Hamilton seems to have a pretty good exit from the last corner, and he opens DRS and even gets back to the racing line as he overtook Charles Leclerc pretty easily. But again, Charles Leclerc is desperate to get back the position, so he attacks Lewis Hamilton, and he tries now in the inside of the last corner. It's very tricky to brake there because it's dirty and easy to lock up, and Hamilton has a better exit, but Leclerc can overtake with using DRS and reducing the drag of his car, and Ferrari has an insane top speed in the straights, so it's Ferrari 1-2 once again. I'm actually not that happy to see again that in Slipstream, even AI, and in multiplayer I guess it will be the same, that you can follow cars pretty easy, while in real life following a car within 1 second it's rather hard and easier, as you gain less in the straights than what you lose in the corners using turbulent air. However, I think also that this is the ideal world. The game world is the ideal, as this is the property that causes amazing racing, as even if you are a bit slower, you can follow the faster car ahead and even overtake him, and then you get re-overtaken, and again and again and again. And this is the reason why we see so many great battles in esports, because it's actually a lot easier to follow in real life. It's even easier to follow sometimes than go in clear air. And this is the proof again. Lewis Hamilton, even being in a slightly slower Mercedes, Vettel illustrated, he re-overtakes Charles Leclerc once again. And Vettel went into the pit. There is the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton went into the pit as well, but he is held up by Max Verstappen, who needed to be let into the pit box, and there was a bit of traffic if you paid attention, so I don't think that Leclerc will be undercut, but we will see how Ferrari drivers will come out on the track after their pit stop. I'm P4, and it's very good, because of course I need to go to the pit again, but others need to go to pit again, so I am now definitely P4 on track and strategically as well, but of course there are there are cars behind me with fresher tires, with softer tires, so it will be definitely a hard time for me to defend, but I will try my best indeed to secure a very high earning point finish. And as you can see, Charles Leclerc was in the pit as well, and I overtook him and the straight too, so I'm P1. We are leading the race with Alfa Romeo Racing, while the others are desperate to fight their way through the field, who didn't went to the pit just yet, as well as Roman Grosjean, who was behind me and who was following me, and there is my car, but Sebastian Vettel is getting closer and closer, and in the newest DRS zone, Vettel opened DRS and down it dived down the inside of Grosjean, and meanwhile we see how big the traffic is in the midfield. Like, it's insane. There is Red Bull, Williams, Force India, or sorry, Racing Point, or whatever it's called, Toro Rossos, and McLaren, and there are 3 wide actions in the AI which look pretty decent, and as well they look pretty decent. The top guys who went into the pit very early, a lot earlier than me, they lose seconds each lap. And as you can see, there is Valtteri Bottas sitting in the Mercedes, and he is still behind the Toro Rosso of, I think it's Kvyat or maybe Albon, I don't know, but the Toro Rosso can open DRS as well, so Bottas can't just make a position as easy as he wants. And even using the power unit of Honda, I think the aero of Toro Rosso is pretty decent and very effective, and therefore even in this race Bottas just simply can't get past, and following so close a car your engine overheats pretty quickly, so you need to turn it down a little bit. You can't use the maximum ERS power and you can't use the maximum engine power, and as you can see Bottas is not even closing, he's getting further and further behind, and he's losing seconds each lap because these guys ahead, they haven't been into the pit just yet and battling, they are slower than me. So now I am actually gaining time on the Red Bulls of Pierre Gasly, for an example, on the Mercedes of Bottas, and only Vettel, Hamilton and Leclerc and Grosjean is free of traffic. So this is the top 5, and behind us there is a huge gap, which is pretty optimal for me because the racers who went to the pit very early, they just can't undercut me. So I have a pretty good strategy here, I feel. Even when I go into the pit very late with very worn out tires, with very slow last few laps, I will still be in a good position in the optimal world. And there is Sebastian Vettel catching up to me, and he definitely opens DRS, and I use high ERS deployment, and I'm in reach. I switch down to standard and low for the exit of the first 2 corners, as it's pretty tricky, but Vettel was too far away to dive, but I still try to brake as late as possible because I didn't want any surprise move, but I missed the apex a little, but Vettel is still behind, and in the middle sector it's pretty hard for him to overtake us. In the turbulent air you can't really get close enough, and there is my car as well on the ideal line, which you leave, then you lose a lot of downforce, so a lot of grip, sorry, not downforce, because the other lines are dirty. So if I just stay on the ideal line, in the middle sector here in the corners, there is no chance that any car will overtake me. And I'm still ahead of Vettel, and I'm still leading the race, and it's lap 11. It's pretty unbelievable what we could achieve with using Alfa Romeo. And if you look at the map, if you look at the left bottom of the screen, then you can see that we have indeed quite a good gap in front of the Toro Rossos, Red Bull and everything, so I'm very happy about my performances. As you can see, Vettel didn't wait longer and he dived to the inside for me in the last corner, but there is the DRS line, and I broke early. Indeed, I broke early. It was a very good strategical move, because what we are doing here is that we open DRS and we overtake Sebastian Vettel for the race lead again, and we are confident to pull back to the racing line. We are confident to have a very accurate braking and hit the apex of the first 2 corners, have a very good exit and be well ahead to not be attacked in the second DRS zone against Sebastian Vettel, and we have the race lead again. And there is Valtteri Bottas. There are laps gone and he is still fighting with the Toro Rosso. It's pretty funny, but now both of them will open DRS, and I guess Mercedes will use his power advantage now, and Bottas finally passed the Toro Rosso, guys. So it wasn't an easy move for him, but finally Bottas could do that as well. And Vettel tries to attack again. Now there is Charles Leclerc too, but I brake again. I try to pay attention to not brake and make any collision with Charles Leclerc too early, because then I would have got a penalty. But Leclerc still gets DRS because he was behind Vettel, but Vettel doesn't get DRS now neither. So I overtake him once again from around the outside. I brake as late as possible, and Charles Leclerc pulls a turbulent air behind, so Vettel needs to slow back because he just didn't have the grip advantage there behind his teammate to fight. So there he is. I'm P2, but now I come into the pit. I did my job, I guess. Only Leclerc could get me past because he could open the DRS as well, and Ferrari was very good in straight line speed indeed. And what we are really happy about is that actually it's P8 that we come back to with fresh tires, with actually the freshest tires on the grid. And as you can see, I skipped through a few laps. I'm in lap 19 soon, and I am P4. P4! We came back to P4 after doing our only mandatory pit stop, which is amazing, really amazing, as now if we defend correctly, then we will indeed can keep the P4 position, so our result is totally in our hands and there is no more strategy involved. And there is Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton fighting against each other. Hamilton lost time during the pit stops, but he gained back the disadvantage and now he tries to overtake Sebastian Vettel, and now in the left-hander he has the inside line after many corners of side-by-side action, and because Vettel was on the dirty line, he managed to get past. I mean, Lewis Hamilton managed to get past, but Vettel in the next lap he overtakes Hamilton using DRS and using the power advantage of Ferrari, but Hamilton fights back and he doesn't even have DRS. It's an amazing action by the British 5-time world champion. He performed really good, and we can see a Ferrari coming out of a pit. It's Charles Leclerc indeed, and there is Valtteri Bottas overtook him, but it's not an undercut because actually, as you could see, Bottas was in a big traffic and Leclerc was leading the race, so Leclerc has a one-stop advantage over Valtteri Bottas. Bottas was only there because he hasn't went into the pit just yet, but he did his pit stop and Leclerc came back into the lead. Meanwhile, Vettel and Hamilton is fighting with each other. And I also fight with Max Verstappen, as I overtook him once again with the strategy that I used against the Ferraris, but it was even easier because it's just pretty simple to overtake a Red Bull in the straight because they have no top speed at all. And Verstappen is much smarter now, and I even lose the backhand, so it will be not an optimal exit for me, and he's pretty close. The driver opens the DRS and I put everything on the engine, and even with slipstream, that Honda powered Red Bull can't overtake me. It's pretty insane. It's pretty insane that they went for a pretty high downforce setup with a pretty high drag, and even being Verstappen about 1.5 seconds faster than me in any single lap, he can't overtake me. In the corners he can't use that advantage because I'm on the good line, I carry good speed, and I just prepare for the one crucial exit, the main straight, and then I can regain or just keep the momentum and the position easier. And Verstappen tries to pass again, and he is ahead of me again in the activation zone, and I open DRS and I just pass him with an ease. And we are already in lap 22 and we are still P4, having already Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel ahead of us. So only 3 of the top drivers, not even only the 6, only 3 of the top drivers ahead of us, and there is Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas fighting against each other. Bottas is now on the fresh compound of tires and tries to go around the outside of Gasly, who attacks back, opening the DRS because he was behind when the DRS zone was measured, and they make contact indeed, but there was no floor or wing damage because it was wheel-to-wheel action, and Bottas gets the position against the Red Bull driver. And there is Bottas behind me if you look, and there is Max Verstappen who overtook me, and now he opens DRS, and as I wasn't braking too early, but even like that, using my power advantage and the slipstream, I dived down the inside of Verstappen. There is an empty road ahead of him. Sorry, there is no road ahead of him at all, and I overtake the driver again. And there was another lap. I used the same strategy, and I basically just play with the AI without any annoyance. But there is Valtteri Bottas, and there he tries to overtake us, and I can't brake too early because there was Verstappen behind me, so I'm not allowed to brake jack, and Bottas passed both of us, but he was behind when the DRS zone was measured, so he can also open DRS, which is not optimal for me because I can't re-overtake him like that, and I try to dive down the inside, but I don't want to damage myself and be overly aggressive, and because of this Verstappen also had a chance to overtake me, but I covered the track pretty decently. But Bottas actually managed to overtake us. So there is the 2 Mercedes and the 2 Ferrari drivers ahead of us. We down to P5, and now Verstappen tries to be creative and overtake is in the fast right and left section, but I'm pretty aggressive. I leave just a right of space and I cover the lines. I have a pretty decent cornering speed in those, so the AI had no chance. And again, Verstappen tries the usual plays. There is Pierre Gasly behind, so I need to be very careful with my braking, as I can't brake whenever I want, because when we are just side by side, only 2, then I can brake whenever I want to have the DRS. But when there is a car behind, I can't do that, because if I brake check them, I get a penalty. And we are down to P6 again, but again we will open DRS indeed, and it's already lap 28, so we have only 2 laps to survive, and this strategy seems pretty decent. All the competitive Ferrari and Mercedes powered teams, so Ferrari and Mercedes passed us, so it's only against the Red Bulls. They have very bad top speed, so I can literally do whatever I want. And there is Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly battling with each other. They are side by side. Gasly tries to go for Verstappen on the inside, and he passes the driver from Holland indeed, and there is only 1 lap to go. We jumped straight to the last lap, as nothing crucial happened in the past 1.5 minutes, and there is Gasly behind, but he seems to be pretty out of energy, so Verstappen tries to re-overtake him. His teammate, he's on the inside, he has a pretty decent exit, and Verstappen is up to P6 again, but more importantly, we are P5 in our second career episode, racing against 110% AI using Alfa Romeo racing car. But Ferrari can be happy as well, and as they secured a 1-2 position with Charles Leclerc winning the race. He dominated the real life race as well, but had an engine failure. Sebastian Vettel without spinning coming second, and there is Lewis Hamilton, who maximized the performance of Mercedes-AMG in this evening. And meanwhile they are on the podium. I want to speak something interesting that you might consider. In the interviews, I never give the answers that I want to give or that I like the most. I give the answer that are the most beneficial. So now, as I want to improve aero of the car, I always applaud and appreciate my aero team, so I can do upgrades cheaper and they are more efficient, and there is a higher chance that they don't fail. So this is a good strategy that I wanted to show you at the latest part of the video, as my small secret. Comment me below if you are still here watching. But this was today's episode. I'm very happy if you leave a comment and leave a like, and you subscribe to my channel if you haven't just yet. And I've been Daniel, and I see you very soon indeed. Goodbye.